Good morning, Canastota. This is Sean Becerra, Superintendent of the Canastota Central School District, and this is the weekly video update for Friday, July 17th. Once again, the status of the reopening of schools in the fall will be the focus of this week's update. This was an extremely busy week regarding school-related news, with the State Education Department and the Department of Health releasing guidance on how the process of reopening will unfold in the next couple of weeks. I'd like to take a minute to walk you through the facts as we know them based on this week's announcements. Number one, the Board of Regents and State Education Department released a very non-specific, what they are calling school reopening framework on Monday, the day we originally believed substantive guidance would be provided. To be blunt, this document provided no insight into next steps for school districts. We had to wait until the end of the week to actually receive the substantive guidance document that we had been waiting for. Number two, the Department of Health did release a fairly substantial document outlining expectations and requirements of schools. This will be helpful to us in our planning process moving forward. Once again, however, we are faced with creating a comprehensive plan without guidance until about 2 weeks before the plan is due to the State Education Department. Just as we have been forced to press forward with our planning process without the actual guidance that we'll be held accountable to, we have been equally challenged by an almost unbelievable void in leadership at the federal level from the Department of Education. In fact, the guidance from Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos simply consisted of saying that kids need to return to school, but provided no guidance, only the threat to take away funding from schools. I want to be completely clear. Our reopening plan will be based on the best scientific and medical guidance available to us. After all, we don't have the luxury of just declaring that schools should be open. We actually have to produce a comprehensive plan to make the reopening of schools work. We will not simply reopen based on vague informationless decrees coming from elected officials. We will be creating and implementing a plan that takes into account the health and safety and educational needs of our students, as well as the safety and health needs of our staff. On Monday, the governor provided new insight into the standard that must be met in order to reopen schools in person. This new standard requires that a region is in phase 4 of the reopening plan. It also goes on to require that the daily infection rate in that region remains below 5% over a 14-day period. Schools would close if the regional infection rate is greater than 9% over a 7-day average after August 1st. Given the fact that we may experience peaks and valleys with infection rates in the coming months, given this guidance, we know that it's very important that we create a reopening plan that can move seamlessly between both remote and in-person instruction. In order to move our plan forward, our district planning committee met twice this past week. Part of the work of the committee has been soliciting and analyzing feedback from various members of the school community. Last week, I mentioned that we distributed 3 surveys, one for students, one for staff, and another for parents. Well, the results are in, and I'm pleased to let you know that we've had a very positive response. In fact, over 800 individuals responded to the surveys, providing us outstanding feedback to evaluate. As a result of the guidance coming from the health and education departments, along with the feedback provided through these surveys, we are busy creating draft plans and schedules for both in-person and remote instruction for the fall. I can assure you we listened to your feedback. Some of the key priorities that are included in our draft plan include, number one, creating a schedule that can seamlessly transition between remote and in-person instruction. Number two, create a plan that minimizes the amount of transitions each day. Number three, construct a plan that provides enough direct interaction between students and teachers. As a result of the feedback provided in the subsequent analysis, I can now tell you that our final plan will maintain as its centerpiece the presence of a specific daily schedule for students and staff to follow, whether we're in remote or an in-person environment. For the remainder of the summer, our work will be divided into two categories. First, between now and July 31st, which is the date our reopening plan is due at State Ed, we will be constructing and finalizing our conceptual model for reopening. The second category, which will unfold throughout the month of August, will be finalizing the detailed portions of the plan. In order to create the best plan possible, we will be sending out a follow-up survey to our families. One of those questions will include whether or not they will be electing to transport their child to school, or if they'll be relying on school-provided transportation. Look for that survey to come out sometime next week. In the meantime, stay healthy, stay cool, and go Raiders.